world, it's Jem here. Thank you for joining me YouTube. I hope you are well, and welcome to the fourth video in my eating disorder series where I'm going to be talking about OSFED, which is other specified feeding or eating disorders. I'm doing this to raise awareness of eating disorders as a whole. We need to be talking about it. We need to be reducing that stigma so the people suffering and the people around them can get a better understanding, feel able to talk about it and go and get that help and treatment and support that they really need. It used to be called EDNOS, just want to put that in here, which is eating disorders not other specified. And with the change in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual version 5, it was changed from EDNOS to OSFED. I'm also doing this to help raise awareness of the amazing eating disorders charity called Beat Eating Disorders, and that's where I've taken my information from today. So OSFED, other specified feeding or eating disorder. So when we think of anorexia, bulimia, binge eating disorder, they're probably the ones that maybe we kind of think of when we think about eating disorders, and we expect those each one to have its own individual signs and symptoms. For example, anorexia nervosa, about self-starvation, to get as thin as possible, limit calorie intake, and yeah, they're the kind of things that the main things that we think about perhaps when we're talking about anorexia. But some people may tick a few of those signs and symptoms if they are in the OSFED group, and it doesn't mean that it's a less severe illness. It just means that they don't quite fit that criteria. They may have a few things, but it doesn't mean they've got enough to get that full diagnosis. OSFED is every bit as serious as anorexia, bulimia, or binge eating disorder. Sorry, there's no kind of worse one or anything. They are all severe and they all need to get help. You need to get help if you are experiencing any of those. So it is common for some symptoms not to fit with the exact diagnostic criteria. And diagnostic criteria means sort of signs and symptoms that you would have in order to get that diagnosis. But so it won't fit the exact criteria of anorexia, bulimia, binge eating disorder. So, but these disorders, OSFED, account for a large percentage of eating disorders. So I'll give you some of the disorders in the list. So we have atypical anorexia, bulimia nervosa with low frequency or limited duration, binge eating disorder, low frequency, limited duration, purge eating disorder, and night eating syndrome. Atypical anorexia, so let's talk about that. This is when, sort of touched on this already, but when someone has all the symptoms but they don't have any changes to their weight, or their weight may remain normal. I don't particularly like that word, because what is normal? My normal may be a different normal to someone else. But perhaps if your weight stays the same, if you're not doing it regularly enough, then you're not going to be dropping in weight significantly. So you may stay the same or only lose a small amount. Still very serious. You're still going to that point where you're starving yourselves, which isn't good. Not for our physical being or any of this, but we are one. It is one. Bulimia nervosa with low frequency or limited duration. Again, same sort of symptoms, but it could be that your binge purge cycle, so that's binging, consuming a lot of food, and then purging either through vomiting or through using laxatives. So you may have those, but it might be likely that your binge purge cycles are less frequent, so you're not doing them as often, and they maybe won't last many years. You may do it once or twice and then never do it again, or you may sort of do it over the course of a few months and then you won't kind of be doing it for years and years. I've probably just repeated myself there, and that again doesn't fit with that diagnosis of full bulimia nervosa. Binge eating disorder, very similar here, as far as the binging doesn't happen as often, and I'm not talking about having a cheat with a few sort of chocolate bars after your meal, or going out and having a big piece of cake or something like that. That's not binging. That's being perfectly a regular human being who just wants to have something nice in a while. But I can't stress this enough, if you have an eating disorder, it's going to have an impact on all your areas of your life, your relationships, your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviours, your work environment, school, college, how you interact with people, etc. So it's okay to have a little eating thing every now and then, eating binge, but I wouldn't say you have binge eating disorder if you only do it every now and then. It's something that you're very obsessive about, you've got preoccupation with it, and you're constantly doing it. It's constantly having an impact on the rest of your life. Purging disorder, so this is someone who is being sick or using laxatives after they've eaten. They're not doing the binging, but they're focusing on the purging. So again, this doesn't really fit with any of those other disorders, which is why it is in this group. Night eating syndrome, so where someone repeatedly eats at night, either after waking or by eating lots of food after their evening meal. Again, we can all have a few chocolate bars and a whole bag of peanuts, which is what I had the other day, but that isn't binging. I've done binge eating disorder, I've been bulimic, and I know the difference between obsessing about food and thinking about it all the time, and hiding food and all of that, and it's far more severe. So it's okay to have a bit after evening meal, but if you're doing it every night, every day, then this is going to possibly cause a significant weight gain, and then this could lead to other mental illnesses, mental health problems. So it's very serious, but we need to think about why the person's doing it, and it tends to be with the way a person treats food, and they may have underlying thoughts or feelings. So it could be that you're living in a toxic environment, struggling to cope with your emotions, hormonal changes, friendships, relationships, lots of stress, and this means that you're using this. You've got all these underlying thoughts and feelings, so you're making you reach for this behaviour. Or it could be a way to gain control. Perhaps you're in a really, dysregulated environment, all over the place, not maybe abusive, violent in any way. Then it might be going to focus on this to get that control back. People with OSFED may work to hide their illness. A lot of people with eating disorders do this, and they may. So it's not just about hiding it, but you might not necessarily see the physical effects, so weight gain, weight loss, and things like that. You may experience the illness a lot longer before people or you even start to notice that it's having an impact on your physical body. Excuse me with the papers. Any of the symptoms associated with bulimia, anorexia, binge eating disorder can be part of OSFED, but these would all come with the same short-term and long-term risks. So if you're perhaps doing bulimia with limited or low frequency, then you might not have the same short-term and long-term effects. Short-term meaning when I was bulimic, I used to get really sore from around my throat from sticking my fingers down my throat, or long-term risks of kind of my weight going up and down or things like that. So if you are experiencing any of the things in the OSFED category, you are still experiencing an eating disorder, but it might not have the same longevity or the same intensity as some of the others that aren't in that OSFED category. Oh, got it out there, I think. So I'm not trying to joke away. This video is taking me a while today, and I'm really trying to do my best here, but I'm not trying to take away from the severity of these disorders. As with eating disorders, it will probably be changes in the person's behaviour, thoughts, feelings, that maybe people around them start to notice before any physical signs appear. So I'm going to list those now. And again, physical signs meaning weight gain, weight loss, maybe paleness, dizziness, feeling faint. All of those kind of things are our physical responses, but it's one physical thing. So signs to look out for in yourself or others: preoccupation with food or secretive behaviour around food. I touched on this when I talked about my bulimia and binge eating. That came at separate times. So you might be hiding food, or you might be thinking about food all the time. When's my next meal coming? And how do I stop this thought of food going through my head? Self-consciousness when eating around other people. I still have this from my eating disorder days, and I don't like eating in front of people. I don't mind sitting in front of the sofa with Andy or maybe my close family and close friends, but going out to a restaurant I can feel self-conscious. And also big family get-togethers and things, I'll kind of limit what I eat because I get too anxious about eating and then I lose my appetite. So still got issues with my eating disorders, but I haven't gone to that place for such a long time now, and I hopefully won't again. But if you are experiencing this, my heart goes out to you. Low confidence and self-esteem, so you could be really feeling down the dumps, that makes it sound trivial, but really kind of not liking yourself, not feeling as confident as you used to be, and beating yourself up, saying you're rubbish, fat, ugly, all of those kind of things. And also maybe you've got poor body image, or even a form of body dysmorphia where you really hate the way you look, or you see yourself very differently to how others see you. Irritability and mood swings, tiredness, social withdrawal, so you may be kind of not doing the same things that you used to do. Feelings of shame, guilt, anxiety. I roll my eyes because it's just feeling that shame and that guilt around food, and how do you change this pattern? It's really, really hard. I won't be talking about treatments today, but I will at a later stage. So, and difficulty concentrating, and this is quite a common side effect of many side effect symptom of other mental health disorders. But yeah, it's you can struggle with a lot of these before you start to notice any kind of weight changes or shape changes. It's not always obvious that someone has an eating disorder, but remember it is a mental illness. We need to be treating it like a mental illness. And if you are worried about anyone or worried about yourself or notice any of these, maybe one, or maybe you're struggling with an eating disorder, whatever the reason you clicked on this video, if you aren't getting help, it doesn't go away, and you really need to make sure that you reach out to someone and ask for that support. Watch videos, go on YouTube, go onto the Beat Eating Disorder website, and in first instances, go to your GP. Say I'm worrying that maybe I'm having some issues, or not just your GP but your general sort of health practitioner. By getting that first step to accepting, acknowledging and understanding that you have this eating disorder is the first step to getting help, getting the right treatment, and maybe even working up to a life without it. Please let me know your thoughts. Please let me know if you have any comments or questions. Please share with me your experience of eating disorders. Do you have one, or have you experienced one? Or maybe someone in your life, someone you care for, has been battling with one. Whatever you want to share with me, please put it in the comments below. It's always good to hear from you guys. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Take care, guys.